Norton just walked into 2026 and dropped a warranty that Harley and Honda simply can't touch, and the paperwork proves it. They're offering 3 years of unlimited miles, full transferability, and 24/7 roadside coverage, all spelled out in their official 2026 release. No mileage caps, no loopholes, no corporate tricks. Meanwhile, Harley still sits at 24 months, and Honda keeps most models at 12 months unless you're buying top shelf. For riders who actually put down real miles, this isn't an upgrade. It's a shot across the industry's bow. Watch until the end, because the ripple effects are far bigger than you think. The warranty bombshell. Norton stepped onto the stage at the Birmingham show and dropped a surprise so bold that the entire hall went silent for a moment. No teasers, no slow build, just a straight-shot announcement that carried the weight of a sledgehammer. A 3-year warranty with unlimited miles and round-the-clock roadside support for every model in their new lineup. Riders in the crowd looked at one another as if they had misheard it. Unlimited miles, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week assistance. No mileage caps, no qualifiers hanging in the air. It felt like someone had finally said out loud what riders have been waiting to hear for decades. There was no build-up. There was no warning. Norton's team delivered the news with the calm, steady tone of people who knew exactly how big it was. They did not dress it up with corporate talk. They did not load it with conditions. They spoke like a company that wanted every rider within earshot to understand one thing. The rules of ownership had just changed. The moment the words landed, the reaction swept through the crowd like heat rolling off a forge. Eyebrows raised, helmets shifted under arms. Phones came out as people tried to confirm they had heard correctly. And as the shock settled in, one truth became impossible to ignore. Norton had just lit the fuse, but the announcement was only the spark. The real jolt came when riders realized what this warranty actually included. What makes this warranty unprecedented? When Norton spelled out the details, it became clear this was not a clever marketing trick. They meant every inch of it. Unlimited mileage coverage for a full 3 years meant a rider could spend every weekend crossing state lines, piling on tens of thousands of road hours, and never worry about outrunning the warranty. That alone felt unreal, but the rest carried equal weight. The coverage was fully transferable, giving every future owner the same protection the first owner received. There was no reduction in time. There was no penalty for changing hands. The warranty lived with the motorcycle for the entire 3-year period. Then came the 24-hour, 7-day roadside support, not basic towing, not a limited range rescue, full assistance with onward travel options when a bike could not be repaired on the shoulder. Whether a rider broke down late at night or early in the morning, help was part of the promise. Norton also backed every official part and accessory with a 2-year warranty, giving peace of mind to riders who loved to customize but hated the fine print that usually followed. Everything about the warranty was direct, clean, and easy to understand. No hidden footnotes, no mazes of exceptions buried in the paperwork. Just clear protection for anyone who chose to roll one of their new machines out of a showroom. But a move this bold does not come out of thin air. There is always a reason behind timing this precise. But before we move on, take a moment to like the video, hit subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Why Norton did this now? Norton has spent the past several years reshaping itself from the frame up. Backed by TVS, a powerhouse with deep manufacturing experience, the company has been rebuilding its reputation through engineering discipline and steady investment. They knew they could not step back into the spotlight with half measures or cautious promises. They needed a statement that showed confidence, stability, and readiness for a new chapter. Launching a warranty, this generous signaled that they trusted their machines to stand up to real road use, not showroom speculation. The timing also lined up with their largest wave of new models in years. The Manx R, the Manx V4S, and the Atlas series gave Norton a diversified lineup with enough range to capture different kinds of riders. Offering a powerful warranty alongside those machines sent a message that these bikes were not experimental or tentative. They were built to ride, built to last, and built to carry the company's name into a new era. This move also helped Norton define its identity clearly. Instead of relying on nostalgia or chasing trends, they planted a flag in a place that riders understand: accountability. When a manufacturer is willing to put strong protection behind its machines, that speaks louder than any scripted ad campaign or promotional launch. And once the announcement hit, the reaction across the industry was immediate and impossible to ignore. While the story unfolds, grab your gears and accessories down in the description. Immediate shockwaves in the market. Within the first few hours of the announcement, conversations started buzzing across dealership networks, industry chats, and motorcycle newsrooms. Sales managers who were on break during the reveal came back to phones lighting up with messages asking if the news was real. Journalists scrambled to confirm details, digging for press releases and official statements. Independent mechanics who followed the launch online were already talking about how bold the move felt. The reaction was not slow or cautious, it was instant. Shop floors felt the ripple next. Riders walked in asking if the announcement was legitimate and whether more details were coming. Some brought printouts or screenshots from the show, reading the lines out loud to be sure they were not missing anything. Technicians in backrooms paused their work as notifications rolled across group chats. The phrase "unlimited miles" became the center of every conversation, said with disbelief, curiosity, or quiet respect. Online forums carried their own wave of reactions. Some riders wondered if this signaled a new era of stronger support from manufacturers. Others simply said they had never seen anything like it. Bike reviewers who had been covering the launch shifted their scripts to include the new information. Every corner of the motorcycle world felt the tremor, even if only for a moment. For a brief window, the entire industry paused to absorb what had just happened. And that pause set the stage for everything that would follow. How Harley and Honda warranties actually work. Both Harley and Honda structure their warranties around clear terms that focus on defined coverage periods, limited mileage expectations, and specific parts protection. Harley provides a factory warranty that spans 2 full years from the date of purchase. This warranty covers material defects and workmanship issues on the motorcycle as it was delivered new. It does not include wear items, and it does not reset with transfers of ownership. Honda follows a similar structure, offering a 1-year limited warranty for most of its motorcycles, with some touring and high-end models receiving longer protection depending on the year. The coverage applies only to manufacturing defects discovered during normal use, and any work performed under warranty must be handled through authorized dealers. Both companies rely on scheduled maintenance records to verify eligibility. If the maintenance guidelines listed in the owner's manual are not followed or documented, coverage can be limited or denied. Repairs must use approved parts, and any modifications that alter the performance or emissions. Compliance may void parts of the protection. Roadside assistance is selective rather than universal. In many cases, it is either tied to extended warranty packages or restricted to specific models within the lineup. The language in these warranties is straightforward, but it leaves little room for interpretation. The limitations reflect a conventional approach that has been in place for decades. Riders understand these terms because they are consistent, predictable, and supported by a long history of dealership service structures. Once those standard terms are understood, the numbers behind real service patterns reveal how tight the margins can become. The hard numbers that reveal the gap. Service departments track warranty claims with precision because every approved or denied repair affects operating costs, parts inventory, and manufacturer reimbursement. Internal dealership reports from recent model years show that most brands maintain a steady approval rate in the range of 80% for factory warranty claims submitted within the normal period. The remaining 20% typically fail due to lapses in maintenance documentation, modifications that affect powertrain integrity, or signs of misuse identified during inspection. Mileage caps play a major role in limiting eligibility. Many factory warranties begin to lose coverage strength once a motorcycle crosses the 20,000 to 25,000 mile mark, depending on age and model class. Roadside assistance data shows similar patterns. The majority of towing calls fall within a 30-mile radius from where the motorcycle breaks down. Assistance programs often restrict travel beyond that distance unless an upgraded package has been purchased. Parts coverage also shows clear limits. Components tied to electronics or emissions systems may carry extended coverage from the manufacturer, but service techs consistently flag issues when customers attempt to claim wear items or damage caused by excessive heat, low oil levels, or aftermarket tuning influences. Annual service logs show dealerships handling roughly 300 to 500 warranty cases each year, with 50 to 100 denied for missed maintenance requirements. Because most stores use the same tracking software for labor, parts, and authorization codes, these patterns repeat consistently, revealing a system built on strict, predictable limits. But behind each of those denied or restricted claims is a rider who lived through the moment firsthand. Real rider. Examples of warranty pain. One rider shared how his touring motorcycle developed a sudden electrical issue just months after purchase. He brought it to an authorized dealer expecting a quick resolution, only to learn that a missing entry in his maintenance booklet raised doubts about eligibility. He had completed the work at home, but without a stamped record, the dealership hesitated. The process dragged on for several weeks before his repair was finally approved, leaving him grounded through the heart of riding season. Another rider with a mid-size street model described a different problem. His engine began producing a sharp ticking sound around 15,000 miles. When he reported it, the service department inspected the bike and discovered aftermarket pipes installed by a previous owner. Even though the pipes had no direct connection to the internal noise, the modification complicated the decision. The rider felt caught between dealership caution and the limits of the policy. The repair was eventually completed, but only after several rounds of back-and-forth conversation. These stories repeat across the riding world because each one reflects a moment when expectations met the strict terms of warranty protection. While those personal experiences show the human side, another part of this story comes from the systems a manufacturer builds behind the scenes. Norton's new support infrastructure. Norton has invested heavily in its support structure to ensure that modern riders have consistent access to reliable assistance. Their system begins with a centralized digital platform that connects every owner through a dedicated application. The app provides service scheduling, repair history, maintenance reminders, and direct communication with authorized service centers. It simplifies the process of booking appointments and creates a clear record of all work performed, making it easier for both riders and technicians to track long-term upkeep without confusion. The company's authorized network has expanded through strategic partnerships with service providers who meet specific training and equipment standards. Each center receives updated technical information, ensuring that repairs follow uniform procedures regardless of location. Diagnostic equipment is standardized, giving technicians the ability to identify issues quickly and accurately. Parts distribution has also been streamlined. Replacement components move through a coordinated supply channel that reduces delays and keeps service timelines predictable. Norton's 24-hour, 7-day roadside assistance integrates with these systems. When a rider requests help, the platform automatically shares essential details with the closest support unit. This approach creates a smooth handoff between rescue teams, towing services, and service centers. The infrastructure is designed to reduce waiting times and remove uncertainty from the process. With all the pieces now visible, the scale of what this means becomes much harder to ignore. Dealer-level consequences for Harley and Honda. Dealerships felt the shock almost immediately. Sales managers began rechecking trade-in formulas because the old rhythm of predictable future value no longer applied. When a major warranty shift enters the market, every store notices, and the reaction starts behind the desk long before it reaches the showroom. Harley and Honda dealers found themselves examining the long-term coverage limits on their own products with a level of scrutiny they normally reserve for corporate audits. They looked at how many riders were already close to mileage caps, how many extended warranties had been sold that week, and how often roadside assistance packages needed to be pitched to hesitant buyers. Inside sales offices, conversations shifted. Negotiations that once relied on brand reputation started leaning harder on add-on coverage. Extended warranties became a centerpiece instead of an accessory. Staff members practiced new scripts, trying to reassure buyers that their investment still carried weight. At the same time, inventory managers examined how long certain models had remained on the floor. Units with higher mileage or limited warranty windows moved into a lower priority tier, while newer units were pushed forward for quicker turnover. Those changes inside the showroom were only the first ripple, because the next wave landed directly on the individuals who owned the machines themselves. The financial pressure on riders. For long-time riders, especially those watching retirement budgets carefully, the financial pressure began to surface almost immediately. Depreciation trends rely heavily on the belief that a motorcycle will remain serviceable and protected for a predictable stretch of time. When coverage ceilings come into focus, resale values follow. Owners who put high annual mileage on their bikes realized that their machines could reach the outer edge of eligibility sooner than expected. A motorcycle that once held steady value for several years could begin slipping earlier, and that shift created tension for those considering a trade-in within the next season or two. Long-term ownership costs also came into sharper view. Riders who maintained their bikes meticulously began thinking ahead to the parts that typically fail just beyond warranty coverage. Things like suspension components, electronics modules, and major drivetrain pieces carry repair bills that can reach into the thousands, and those numbers weigh heavily on riders living on fixed incomes. A motorcycle that once felt affordable across a decade of ownership now carried the possibility of unpredictable expenses toward the later years. While individual riders worked through their financial considerations, the manufacturers competing in the broader market faced their own set of decisions. If you want more straight, honest breakdowns without the spin, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Every new video is built to keep you informed, prepared, and ahead of the changes reshaping the motorcycle world. How rival manufacturers may be forced to react. Across the industry, competing manufacturers watch the situation unfold with an eye towards structural adjustments. Triumph may evaluate its existing coverage framework, particularly for its modern classics and adventure models, looking for areas where longer terms could provide buyer confidence without disrupting established service networks. Yamaha could explore adding extended roadside assistance to its large touring and sport touring platforms, especially models that already attract long-distance riders who expect consistent support. Indian may turn attention toward coverage transparency, reviewing how its policies are presented to buyers and whether expanding certain terms could strengthen loyalty among premium V-twin customers. Suzuki might focus on maintenance interval clarity or parts availability guarantees, both of which can reinforce trust among riders who rely on straightforward ownership expectations. Kawasaki could consider adding additional layers of support for its sport touring and heritage lines, emphasizing durability backed by accessible service coverage. Manufacturers often respond in measured steps rather than sweeping announcements. Internal discussions might center around regional service capabilities, dealer training requirements, and how quickly infrastructure can be scaled to support enhanced warranties. Some brands may experiment with hybrid approaches, offering longer coverage on specific models, or trimming restrictions that riders commonly point out as pain points. As companies weigh their paths forward, the riding community itself begins experiencing a shift in what truly matters when choosing a motorcycle. The cultural shift in rider expectations. A deeper change began taking shape within the riding culture itself. Riders who once judged a motorcycle primarily by displacement, styling, sound, or reputation started rethinking what mattered most in long-term ownership. The conversation turned from peak performance to dependable support. Warranty coverage, once seen as nothing more than a standard industry formality, slowly grew into a defining trait of what riders consider a trustworthy machine. The older generation of riders, shaped by decades on the road, recognized how much difference predictable support can make. They remember the years when a simple roadside issue could turn a planned trip into an expensive delay. They also remember when service departments relied more on personal relationships than policy documents. As expectations evolve, riders look for a sense of assurance that goes deeper than technical specifications or flashy features. The shift is not about brand loyalty or trend chasing. It is about understanding the value of consistent support across long distances, changing seasons, and thousands of miles of wear. Riders who once prioritized horsepower or chrome now talk about coverage duration, roadside reliability, and the quality of communication from service networks. It reflects a culture that respects the realities of long-term ownership and seeks stability as much as excitement. With those cultural expectations evolving, the stage is set for the final and most far-reaching consequences of this shift: how global manufacturers must reinvent strategy. Across the global motorcycle landscape, long-term strategy now demands a deeper recalibration. Manufacturers must examine the foundations of how they plan production, how they validate engineering durability, and how they build competitive structures for the next generation of machines. The traditional cycle that relied on predictable model refreshes, incremental updates, and steady development timetables now faces pressure to evolve. Companies will need to evaluate how their testing protocols measure sustained use across extended distances and varied regions. This means revisiting endurance testing procedures, component stress thresholds, and long-haul validation methods that once centered on limited mileage windows. Engineering divisions may be required to revise their assumptions about service intervals, mechanical tolerances, and long-term durability standards. This shift extends beyond engines and transmissions. It touches electronics, suspension systems, frame materials, and accessory integration. Every part that supports extended operation becomes a point of scrutiny. As development teams respond, production planners must forecast demand through a lens shaped by new expectations. Manufacturing schedules, supplier agreements, and quality control checkpoints all adjust as the industry's definition of longevity expands. While engineering teams adjust their internal structures, regulatory bodies prepare for their own set of reactions to the changes unfolding in the market. Regulatory and policy consequences. When a major shift takes place within the warranty landscape, policy organizations begin evaluating how existing rules align with the new standard. Consumer rights agencies will examine the clarity, transferability, and enforceability of coverage terms with renewed attention. These agencies often oversee how warranties are presented to buyers, verifying that all language remains accurate, accessible, and compliant with established guidelines. If a coverage structure expands significantly, regulators may adopt new frameworks to ensure that claims procedures remain transparent. Extended service regulators may reassess how service agreements are classified and monitored. They typically review how manufacturers support their service networks, document repairs, and track response times. With expanded support models emerging, these groups may consider updates to reporting standards, especially those related to turnaround time, parts access, and communication protocols. Such adjustments help ensure consistency even as coverage expectations grow. Warranty compliance groups could introduce new auditing practices to track performance across multiple regions. These groups analyze how often claims are honored, how disputes are resolved, and how communication flows between manufacturers and service centers. If expanded support models become more common, Compliance teams may implement broader oversight techniques to maintain uniform enforcement. Once policy discussions begin, the broader economic structures connected to the motorcycle world feel their own pressure to adapt. Global economic ripples. Within the global motorcycle economy, a shift in support expectations influences the structure of supply chains and the long-term behavior of investment groups. Parts suppliers may see new demand forecasts as manufacturers reassess durability requirements. This can lead to adjustments in material sourcing, tooling investments, and long-range production planning. Components that historically operated within shorter warranty cycles could require stronger design parameters, prompting suppliers to revisit their fabrication standards. Investment confidence also reacts to these changes. When the industry resets its baseline expectations for reliability, analysts begin studying projected service costs, production stability, and future model pipelines. These evaluations affect funding for research divisions, manufacturing expansions, and supplier partnerships. Over time, investment groups may encourage brands to adopt stronger quality assurance measures, knowing that global expectations have shifted toward extended use and consistent support. Dealership economics experience their own adjustments. Inventory cycles may shift as buyers consider long-term ownership viability, influencing the pace at which new units reach the showroom floor. Service departments could see changes in workload structure as maintenance schedules evolve. Aftermarket businesses may respond by developing parts and accessories built with higher durability expectations, reinforcing the broader movement toward sustained use. With the global industry reorganizing itself in quiet but significant ways, the final impact settles on the future of those who ride the machines shaped by this new era. What this means for the future of American riders. For riders across the country, this moment represents a turning point in how motorcycles will be judged and trusted in the years ahead. The road has always demanded honesty from a machine, but the future demands a new kind of confidence. Riders who value long-distance journeys, familiar routes, and personal connection with their motorcycles now enter an era where the promises behind a machine carry as much weight as the machine itself. Reliability is no longer an assumption. It becomes a commitment a manufacturer must prove. This shift touches something deeper than technical claims. It shapes the way riders look at the open road, how they plan their seasons, and how they trust the machines waiting in their garage. When a company stands firmly behind its engineering, it restores a sense of security that older riders remember from earlier decades. That sense of trust creates space for more miles, more memories, and more confidence in the years ahead. Long-haul riding gains renewed strength, giving riders the confidence to chase full-season journeys and turn short weekends into lasting stories. As support deepens across the industry, riders reclaim the freedom to trust their machines without hesitation. In the long view, this shift becomes more than news. It restores the core of riding: endurance, certainty, and the promise that the open road remains waiting. So here's the bottom line, folks. Norton didn't just change a warranty, they forced the entire motorcycle world to look in the mirror. Harley, Honda, and every major manufacturer now have to decide whether they're building bikes for real riders or just counting on loyalty while cutting corners. And for those of us who've racked up tens of thousands of miles, this moment matters more than most people realize. But now I want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Would unlimited miles change what you ride next? And if you got value out of this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and stick around.